Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video, I am going to talk about bronzers. Now this is a topic that I have never talked about on this channel. There is a solid reason behind that. When I started this channel, there were not a lot of bronzers available for my skin tone. Not a lot of drugstore bronzers available for my skin tone. I just had a couple of bronzers that I used to use, but now I can say that I have a collection of bronzers that I would like to share with you guys. It's a little bit difficult to find a good drugstore bronzer if you have dusky or deeper skin tone, and I'm talking about the Indian market. There is a difference between bronzing and contouring. Contouring is providing more dimension, structure to your face. On the other hand, bronzing means giving a little bit of warmth to your skin. So that's the basic difference. Now bronzers are generally going to be warm toned. Not all the bronzers are going to be warm toned, but they generally tend to lean more towards the warmer side. Whereas if you're using a shade for contouring, it's going to be more neutral or cool toned, I'd say. But then again, that's going to depend on your undertone and your skin tone. For example, I like using bronzers that are either warm toned or neutral. There are also some bronzers that can be used as contour. We are going to talk all about that in this video, and I am going to give you some fabulous bronzer options for dusky skin. So let's get into this video. The first bronzer that I have here is from Revolution. In fact, I have a lot of bronzers from Revolution. This is from Re-Love by Revolution. It's available in 4 or 5 different shades, and you can easily get it on Nykaa. Now I want you to look at the shade. This is what a perfect bronzer looks like according to me. At least for my skin tone, I have a warm olive undertone. So for me, this is going to be a perfect bronzer. This has got some warmth. It also has some green in it. It's also deep enough for my skin tone. After picking up this bronzer, just tap your brush a couple of times and then go ahead and apply it. That way it will not turn patchy, because this is super pigmented, so it has got some kickback. Other than that, this is very blendable. It is also vegan and cruelty free. Next, I have another bronzer from Revolution. I have got 3 to 4 bronzers from Revolution over here, so let's talk about them first. This is the Revolution pressed powder bronzer in the shade Chestnut. Now for the shade, this is going to look more neutral on my skin tone. This has not got a lot of kickback, but it's very pigmented. It's very blendable. You can either use it as a bronzer or contour, because this has got a neutral undertone. So I'm holding both the bronzers in the frame. You can see the difference over here. This one is very warm toned, and then this one is sort of neutral, or at least it looks neutral when we compare it to this bronzer. After this, I have got a cream bronzer from Revolution. This again has the same packaging as their pressed powder bronzer. This one is in the shade medium. This is a cool toned bronzer. It has got some gray in it. If you're someone who has cool undertone, you can actually pull this off as a bronzer, but I like using it as a cream contour more than bronzer. This is very blendable. You can either use it with your fingers or brush. I don't like blending it in with a sponge because that's a little bit difficult. If you have cool undertone and you apply something that is too warm on your skin, it's gonna look out of place. It will not be something that looks normal on your skin tone. For example, I have a warm undertone, and if I apply something that is very cool toned, it looks weird on me. So I think that this bronzer is going to work well on people who have dusky skin with cool undertones. Ultimately, I have a liquid bronzer from Revolution. This is the Revolution Super Dewy Liquid Bronze in medium to tan. I think this is available in 3 shades. There is a shade deeper than this as well. Now this is like a very natural bronzing shade for me. And I am just going to take a little bit on the back of my hand. It's super blendable. It disappears into your skin, but it will give you that warmth or definition, whatever it is you're looking for. So you can see it's very, very blendable. And I like to use it when I do a very natural makeup look, because it's super light on the skin. It has got this dewy finish, and it's also deep enough for my skin tone. I have the shade medium to tan. So I apply this bronzer with a brush. You can also blend it in with your fingers if you want the application to be a bit more precise, but with bronzers you don't have to be that precise. So you can use a brush. I'd not recommend the sponge because the sponge will absorb all the product. This also comes in a very travel-friendly, cute packaging. So after this, I have my all-time favorite bronzer. This one is from Wet n Wild. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer, and the shade that I have is What Shady Beaches. Now this is not a matte bronzer. All the bronzers that I mentioned till now do not have any shimmer particles or pearly particles in them. The finish will differ, but they don't have any shimmer or pearly particles in them. This one has got golden shimmer particles inside it, but it's very finely milled. Now this is also an amazing bronzer for beginners because it's not super pigmented, so you don't have to worry about applying too much. This has got a warm undertone, by the way. Also love the undertone of this bronzer. I think I've had this bronzer for years now and I really like it. Again, super blendable. This has not got a lot of kickback on the pan and you can easily use it with a contouring brush or a bronzing brush. But this is going to give you a little bit of a glow, as you can see here. Again, this is something that you can use for natural makeup looks, even for a glam makeup look. This is an amazing bronzer. I can never get rid of it. This is my all-time favorite bronzer. So after this, I have a bronzer from Sugar. This is the Sugar Contour de Force Mini Bronzer and this one is in the shade Woody Wonder. Again, this has got neutral undertone. Now, this doesn't look very deep on the pan, but it is deep enough for my skin tone. This is not going to give me a lot of definition. This is a very soft bronzer, I'd say, and this too has got matte finish. It's a powder bronzer. If you have a skin tone deeper than me, then I'd say that opt for a deeper shade. For reference, I am NC14 MAC. So this is like a very soft neutral bronzing shade for me. This again goes with all kinds of makeup looks. After this, I have got this matte bronzer from Rude Cosmetics. This is their go for the bronze bronzer in the shade Tried My Best. This again has a neutral undertone. I know it doesn't look deep enough for my skin tone, but I am going to show you the swatches of all these bronzers on my face. All of these work for my skin tone and that's the only reason why I'm making this video after so many years, because it was sort of difficult to find so many bronzers for my skin tone. It's very blendable. It has not got a lot of kickback. This has got a matte finish and this is again something that's good for beginners. After this, I have a bronzer from Tipsy Beauty. This has got a very interesting packaging. I'll not say that this is the most convenient packaging, but it looks beautiful. So you have to slide out this card and then on the inside you get the bronzer. One thing I like about this bronzer is that they provided two types of shades. I mean shades with different undertones. This one you can see here is warm and has got some shimmer in it, and then this one over here is matte and this also looks more neutral. So what I like doing is mixing both of these shades. That gives me my perfect shade. So this again is a powder bronzer, so you'll definitely use it with a brush. I like dipping my brush once in this, then a couple of times in this, and then I'll just tap it off and then I'll apply the bronzer. Now after this, I have a bronzer from ColourPop. This is the ColourPop matte bronzer in the shade Pacific Beach. ColourPop is still not available in India, but I really hope that they launch in India soon because this is a brand that makes affordable products at amazing prices. They actually keep the different skin tones and undertones in mind. They are inclusive. So this bronzer in particular, first of all, this is a huge bronzer. I'd say that this has got a warm undertone. You can see a little bit of red in it. It has got a matte finish. It is very blendable. Again, this has not got any kickback on the pan. There is literally no kickback at all, but it's super duper pigmented and you just need the tiniest amount of this bronzer. You don't want to overdo it, otherwise you will end up with a patchy finish. So this is the type of brush that I'll generally use for bronzing, and this is very fluffy and you can just go in with it. Just tap it a couple of times and then when you go in with it, you can see it gives a beautiful warmth to your skin that I really love. Also, it's very easy to apply your bronzer with this brush. This is from Cuffs and Lashes. It's the Cuffs and Lashes F024 brush. This is actually a powder brush, but I like using it for bronzing. Now, ultimately, I have another super pigmented, super huge bronzer. This one is from LA Girl. This again is a matte bronzer. This is the LA Girl matte bronzer in the shade Lost in Paradise. I'd say that this again has got a neutral undertone and it looks amazing on my skin tone. It's super duper pigmented. This one also was available in a few different shades, I'd say. Now the MRP of this one is rupees 1050. I think it's available on Nykaa. The MRP is justified because of the amount of product that you're getting, and actually I like pans that are this huge if we consider bronzers, because then I like using a big brush and then I can easily go in with the brush. This isn't as pigmented as the ColourPop bronzer, but it's an amazing bronzer for beginners. And you can also use this for powder contouring if you want, because this has got a neutral kind of undertone, I'd say. None of these bronzers are going to dry out your skin, but after applying all the products, I always go in with a setting spray to fix everything in and make it look natural. That gives you a more skin-like finish and your makeup looks fresh for a longer time. So all of these bronzers are easily available in India except the ColourPop bronzer. I have linked all of them in the description box. I'll highly recommend these bronzers if you have dusky or deeper skin tone. If this video was helpful for you, do not forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.